Hello everyone and welcome to Delta Revolution Racing. This is the F1 Monday tier that you are tuned into for today's broadcast. I would like to thank you for joining this broadcast. I am Kem and I'll be your commentator for today's race that will be taking place around Austria. So thank you for tuning in to this broadcast. Make sure that if you have not subscribed to this channel as yet, make sure that you do that. And as well, if you could, please like this stream, as doing both of these things will help us out quite a bit. And also, if you did not check out last week's race that took place around Britain, which was actually the sprint qualifying format, make sure that you check that out, as well as it was SLR Ham of the Ferrari team. It was his first race in the league and he dominated both the sprint and the 50% race around Britain. So if you have not checked out that stream or video, make sure that you do that. As we head into round 4 of this 10 race calendar, we have we have got rain. This is the first time that we are seeing rain so far this season. It looks like it is going to be full wet tire conditions. So this is going to be quite interesting. So it's probably going to take some of these drivers a bit of time to make some adjustments to their setups. Might be a bit dependent on what the projected forecast for the race is as well. Maybe seems like these drivers have come out relatively quickly, so it may be a case that they don't want to compromise their race too much for these conditions. But first out on the track is Shug's Life of the McLaren team, and then behind him is Apex Finley of the Mercedes team. So we will ride on board with Shug's Life and see how it is that he fares starting the first flying lap of this qualifying session. And what I could do at this point is I can actually go through, as Shugs is just coming up to the final turn of the circuit to start his first flying lap. I can go through some of this, or go through these standings so far through the first 3 rounds of this season. So as it is right now, it is actually Zap of the AlphaTauri team, as Shug's Life has already invalidated. So that's unfortunate for him. So we'll go to the driver behind him, being Apex Finley, and see how it is that he fares through his first flying lap. So it is Zap of the AlphaTauri team who is currently in first place in the driver standings. He has 59 points. Behind him is actually SLR Ham. So even though it was his first race of the season last week during round 3, he picked up 36 points, getting first in the race, first in the sprint, and the fastest lap for the 50% race. So that jumped him all the way to second place in the standings. So it was quite an impressive drive by SLR Ham 19. And then in third place is the McLaren driver of Anthony. He has 29 points. And as you can see, he is in this session, participating in this qualifying session and race. So Apex is coming to the line. It's a 1:16.024 for the Mercedes driver. Looks like his wife has had a bit of a moment. We'll see who is next to cross the line. It's going to be Lewis F1 participating in his second race of the season. Puts him in second with a 1:16.829 on that lap. Next across the line is Anthony, and it will be a 1:16.537 for the McLaren driver. Pavonis jumps to second with a 1:16.470. Well done by the Alfa Romeo driver. Next across the line is Coix, as I believe Prior Thib has actually crashed out. So Prior Thib has crashed out of this session. Coix Gamer just went across the line, setting a 1:16.977. That puts him in 5th place. We'll see if we can see what happened with Prior Thib. There you see him on the side of the road. Unfortunate for him. Now riding on board with Zayek. He had a pretty good practice session for himself, so we'll see as comes around the final corner. And it is the first into the 115s with a 1:15.905 for Zayek. So provisional pole so far for him. Next across the line is H. Bosworth. That's a 1:18.052. So Lewis was actually on another flying lap. Anthony is also on the lap, jumps to third with a 1:16.356, so a slight improvement by the McLaren driver. Ship's life sets a 1:29.836. He puts himself in 8th place for the time being. So next across the line is Seb Lafleur. However, he has invalidated. Behind him is Zap. He is on an outlap, so crossing the start finish line, he will be beginning a lap right now. So next across the line is Apex Finley, jumps to first with a 1:15.882. Well done by the Mercedes driver. So it's a Mercedes 1-2 for the time being. H. Bosworth was going faster, but has unfortunately invalidated. There's a Ferrari coming to the line. That is Lewis F1, jumps to third with a 1:15.079. Next across the line is going to be Anthony, and it's quite a good improvement, 1:15.535. Now, I am wondering, is this session, as Stinos is coming to the line, but he did invalidate, unfortunately. Coix jumps to second with a 1:15.568. Pavonis is improving. Where will he jump to? 5th with a 1:16.078. Shugs is into the pits. Seb Lafleur is into the pits. So next across the line is going to be the AlphaTauri driver of Zap, and puts himself third with a 1:15.683. So it does look like Apex, no, not on an in lap, just a slow lap. So probably going to get another hot lap started. Amaguner has invalidated. H. Bosworth is coming around the final turn. Should be an improvement for him. A very good improvement. Yep, almost 2 seconds, and stays in 8th with a 1:15.260. Next across the line, nope, Lewis is into the pits. Anthony is on another flying lap, but should be starting a flying lap now, as that was probably a slow lap for him. Stinos has invalidated again. And looks like, so as I was saying, this may actually be somewhat similar to what it is that took place in the first race of the season around Spain, where it became drying conditions and the lap times started getting faster and faster. That was one of the craziest qualifying sessions that I have probably ever commentated on. So we will see what is going to happen throughout the rest of this qualifying session. We have 9 minutes and 26 seconds remaining. Looks like Apex is improving. Jumps to provisional pole with a 150. And then Amagooner takes it off of him with a 115.077. So this definitely does mean that the track is starting to dry up. So it's going to probably be the final wet runs by a lot of these drivers. Anthony's time will be slightly slower. Stinos jumps to first. The first into the 114s with a 114.954. Well done by him. Koix jumps to third with a 115.158. Here we go. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This qualifying session is most likely going to be a repeat of what took place as Pavonis jumps to fourth with a 115.266. We'll see if Zach can improve. He will. Jumps to second with a 115.053. As Dark Stomper has joined this session, he will have to put on a setup and retire, as Zayek has improved, but I believe does stay in 8th place, setting a 115.790. Amagooner is into the pits. And Stinos is actually on another fast lap, it looks like. But nope, he has decided to dive into the pits. So I am expecting, as Shugs is on an outlap on the inters and Seb LaFleur has the inters on his car in the pits, I'm expecting all of these drivers to be into the pits. Parafit has left the session. Hopefully we can get him back in. So we have 7 minutes and 20 seconds left in this qualifying session, as Lewis has invalidated. I'm surprised that he actually went out for another lap, as Shugs having a bit of a moment there. So now the question is, after seeing that bit of an error from Shugs, is it, as I believe that was Zayek who just crossed the line, improved by 0.5, jumps to 6th with a 115.282. Is the track conditions dry enough for the inters? That is now the question, as there are only 3 cars on track. We will ride on board with Shug Life to see how it is that he fares through the rest of this hot lap. And Shugs has made an error. I was just making sure that the audio on the YouTube side was working correctly. Shugs has made an error, unfortunately, so that is that hot lap over for him. Zayek is into the pits, should be fitting the intermediate tires onto his Mercedes car, as Shugs Life trying to make his way back onto the circuit. I do believe this is interesting. Lewis is not opting for the intermediate tires. So maybe we'll ride on board with him for the rest of this lap. Maybe he might just be thinking that he'll try and go as fast as possible, and he's improving. So that may be the strategy by Lewis, to try and just see how fast he can go on a lap on these wet tires, and if it is an improvement, just follow right through to the finish, set a better time, and then maybe go into the pits to put on the intermediate as well. We'll see what it is. Jumps to provisional pole with a 114.870. Is it intermediate tire conditions? What are we doing here? Is it intermediate tire conditions? It's good to see Parthid is back into the session. So let us see. Are there any intermediate runners? Sabaflair on an outlap. Zap on an outlap. Amaguner is still on the wet tires. So we'll ride on board with him. He'll be the next to cross the start-finish line for us. And no, going somewhat slowly. So it might just be an in-lap by Amaguner. So Anthony is currently improving on his set of intermediate tires. Well, let us see how much of an improvement it is. So as he comes to the final turn of the circuit, it is foot down, and it is going to be, yep, it is provisional pole for Anthony. So yep, Lewis has decided to pit. He has done, I guess, 3 laps on those wets, so nonetheless, he would need to be pitting. Coix is into the pits on a set of wet tires. Now we're on board with King David. Has not set a lap time as yet. It will be in the 114. Jumps to second with a 114.736. Behind him is Sev Lafleur. And it looks like this may be a 113. It is a 113.274 by Sev Lafleur. That is quite the time. He is a second and a half clear of the second place Anthony. That's quite impressive. Now riding on board with Zap. Coming to the line. Will he be able to take provisional pole? No. Just a 10th slower than Sev Lafleur. Jumps to second. Amaguner just set a time on the, with the wet tires. He was in third, and then Anthony just took that off of him, setting a 113.846. So, interestingly enough, Amaguner does not have the confidence as yet to go onto the intermediate tires. Now riding on board with Zayek. This is going to be a pretty decent time. Jumps to third with a 113, I believe, 836, that said. King David just crossed the line, I believe, jumped to third with a 113.669. Now riding on board with Sev Lafleur. It's going to be another improvement. First into the 112. Sev Lafleur, a 112.646 for the reserve Aston Martin driver. And to note, the only reserve driver in today's race. As, oh, Shugs! Luckily, not DNFing. Stinos is going fast. Jumps to second with a 113.144. Well done by him. Amaguner jumps to fifth with a 113.831. Still on those wet tires. This is quite interesting. Now riding on board with Anthony. This is not a representative time. H. Bosworth is on an outlap. Coix is on an outlap. Zayek will not be improving upon the time that is on the left side of the screen. Pavonis is on an outlap, just about to start a flying lap. Apex Finley is going a second faster than his fastest time. He jumps to fifth with a 113.685. Well done by the Mercedes driver. So King David was on a solo lap, and it's only 28 seconds left in this session. So that would be, yeah, Sev Lafleur going into the pits, I believe. He is done for this qualifying session. As Stinos is coming to the line. Oh, it is an improvement, but still 2/10 slower than Sev Lafleur. Zap with a 112.611 jumps to provisional pole. As we have some drivers who are in the wall. Now riding on board with Anthony as this qualifying session is over. Anthony jumps to fourth with a 113.340. H. Bosworth across the line jumps to ninth with a 114.4346. Sorry, and then there was another driver that was Coix jumped to fourth with a 113.312. Next across the line, I believe that was Pavonis, jumps to sixth with a 1:13.667. Next across the line is Apex. I'm not sure if that was an improvement. I think it was. So in fourth place is Apex. King David now takes that fourth place off of Apex. And Stenos is on a sole lap. There is, I believe that's Emma Gunner, or of course, going into the pit is Emma Gunner. Is Zap. Yep, Zap has invalidated everyone else. No, Lewis is actually still on a fast lap as it is right now. And it said that he was nearly 9/10 faster than his lap on the left side of the screen. Jumps to 8th with a 1:13.398. And yep, this looks like it is it for this qualifying session. So it is Zap, the Drivers' Championship leader, taking pole position for this qualifying session here at Austria. So I'll quickly run down the starting order for this race. So it is Zap who will be starting in first place. Seb LaFleur will be starting in second, reserving for the Aston Martin team in today's race. Third is Stenos of the Alpine team. King David in fourth. Apex Finley in fifth. Koix Gamer will be starting in 6th. Anthony of the McLaren team starting in 7th. Lewis F1 starting in 8th. Pavonis starting in 9th. Amaguner will be starting in 10th. Zayek in 11th. H. Bosworth in 12th. Shugs Life 13th. And then Dark Stomper and Parthib will be in 14th and 15th respectively. Now, I am interested to see what the weather conditions will be for this race. I'm assuming it's going to be dry conditions because the drivers got onto the track relatively quickly. So we will see. Yep, and it is dry, but the cloud coverage that I am seeing in the top right corner of the screen, I do not exactly know. But for the time being, it is dry conditions to start this race. And just a reminder that there is no formation lap, so as soon as the drivers get themselves ready, it will be straight into the race. So it's 2, 3, 4, and 5 red lights. And we are away for this 36-lap race as it looks like Shug's Life has not gotten himself a good start. But we'll see who has gotten themselves. King David has actually made up 3 positions from the start of this race. Well done by the Alfa Romeo driver, but now Zap making his way back into first place, and it seems like a relatively clean start, although it does look like Shugs is having some issues. But this is a grand start from King David. Bit of contact between Apex and Lewis F1. And it does look like Shugs has now gotten himself looks like Koix has actually left this session, so that is unfortunate. We'll try and get him back. But a relatively clean start to this race, and looks like our Fib is out as well, so we'll try and get both of them back into this session. King David sets the fastest lap of the race with a 1:12.153. We have yellow flag. That is Shug's Life. Looks like a battle between both Williams drivers, and actually that has, oh yeah, Koix is out of the session as it is right now, so we'll be dropping some positions as it is. Now riding on board with Dark Stomper, he is just behind Zayek. And we'll see, will he make this move into this turn? Have to be careful side by side between the Aston Martin and Mercedes driver. Yes, Dark Stomper is up into 12th. So has made up 2 positions from the start of this race. Well done by him. So Seb Leclerc, currently in 3rd, has set the fastest lap of the race with a 1:08.167. DRS is now enabled, and Seb Leclerc quite close to the back of Zap. H. Bosworth has made his way past the AI car of Koix. Looks like, yeah, so both Koix and Parathib's AI car are going slightly slow. But it looks like Lewis and Apex were having a bit of a battle. Apex I believe does remain in 4th place. Now Lewis with the lunge down the inside of Apex and is able to make that stick. Well done by the Ferrari driver of Lewis F1. Now Lewis is going to have to try and get himself back within 1 second of Seb Leclerc ahead of him so that he can have DRS for his assistance. So riding on board with Zayek, he has made his way past Koix, but although... Oh, and that is a spin for Zayek as he has made contact with Koix's AI car. So now riding on board with Stinos, has made his way past Apex and has now also made his way past Lewis F1 as Lewis F1 ran wide. Apex now using that as an invitation to make his way past Lewis F1 and Amaguner. Also currently pretty much side by side with Lewis and able to take that place. Lewis with the lunge down the inside. What a move by the Ferrari driver. Able to take that 6th place position back. That was quite impressive by Lewis F1. So as it is right now, it is King David currently in 1st place. Stinos has set the fastest lap of the race with a 1:07.512. We have yellow flags in sector 1, and Koix is out. Or sorry, has left the session. So watching this battle between Zap and King David. A bit of a touch by Zap into King David's rear. We have yellow flags in sectors 2 and 3. Shug's life is having some issues right now. He's going to have to get himself out of the way of these lead runners, and he has gotten well out of the way of these lead runners. Ooh, Seb Leclerc has to be careful not to go into the back of Zap. As Parathib looks like has crashed out. Pavonis has gotten himself a 3-second time penalty for multiple track limit warnings. Now on board with Seb Leclerc, looks like he has gotten a good exit out of that turn 1, however. Zap seems to have quite a decent amount of top speed, so Seb Leclerc not able to make his way past Zap down that first DRS straight. It's DRS for Zap, Seb Leclerc, as well as we have I believe this is a VSC, as Parathib has left the session. So Shug's life is into the pits. We'll see what tires some of these drivers are on. Apex Finley is on the soft. So if this VSC does continue for a decent amount of time, it is now a question of Will Apex pit? And I see him hovering to the right side of the track. Apex Finley is pitting, and it looks like he is going to be the only driver deciding to go into the pits apart from Shug's Life, as gets himself a 3-second time penalty for multiple track limit warnings. So that's going to be quite advantageous for Apex, and we will see after some of these runners, such as King David, Zap, Seb LaFleur, and Stinos, as it looks like we are back under green flag conditions. It's going to be interesting to see how many positions Apex will be able to make up on some of these drivers, albeit as long as there is not another safety car or VSC. So King David has gotten himself a 1.1 second lead ahead of Zap. Zap is going to have to try and get within 1 second of King David. And yep, he is deploying the batteries to get himself just within that 1 second window. But riding on board with Seb LaFleur, having a bit of a look to the inside. And a good exit by Seb LaFleur. Now deploying the battery, but decides to stop that and just go into the slipstream. Zap goes slightly defensive. And this is a bit of contact between both drivers, but Seb LaFleur makes his way past Zap to go up into second place. Well done by him. Now riding on board with Anthony, having himself a battle with Koix Gamer. I'm not sure if Koix is back in the session as it is, but Anthony now up into 10th place. So we'll now go back to the front runners, and yep, Koix is now back into the session, so he will be able to take control of his car. So it is DRS for Seb LaFleur. Has to yield slightly as he has a lot of top speed with that DRS. With DRS again, should be able to, maybe not, make his way past King David just yet. Now riding on board with Apex Finley much later on the brakes than Koix Gamer, makes his way up into 11th place. We'll go back to the front runners. Seb LaFleur with DRS still not making his way past King David. Will stay in second. So we are currently on lap 9 of 36. I didn't actually realize that Shug's Life actually retired from the session, as he was a lap down a few laps ago, so deciding to park it was Shug's Life. Now riding on board with Zayek. We'll see if he is able to make his way past Koix, and deploying the battery. It is going to be side by side between both of these drivers. Lewis gets himself a 3-second time penalty for multiple track limit warnings, and he has actually spun. So Zayek makes his way past Koix to go up into 12th place. Looks like there's a battle for first at the moment. Seb LaFleur is up into first after trailing behind King David throughout the previous lap. We will now go on board with Apex Finley, making his way past Anthony to go up into 10th place. There's a battle between King David and Seb LaFleur. King David has actually retaken that first place position. We'll go down to Dark Stomper, quietly making his way up the field, starting from the back of the grid, already up into 7th place. So well done by the Aston Martin driver. So it is DRS for Seb LaFleur. Who will be braver on the brakes? It is Seb LaFleur. Now, will he as King David, Seb Leclerc is, as Lewis is into the pits, probably sustained damage after that spin. So this is going to get quite interesting between all four of these drivers who are trying to get themselves into first place. As King David making his way past Seb Leclerc to go up into first. Now riding on board with Dark Stomper, Pavonis has gone slightly defensive, giving the room for Dark Stomper, and looks like a bit of contact. Stinos has gotten himself a 3-second time penalty for multiple track limit warnings. That is not going to be to his advantage as he is battling with those 3 drivers ahead of him. So Dark Stomper makes his way past Pavonis to go up into 6th place. It is a good race so far for Pavonis, as later on the brakes is Seb Leclerc. King David trying to go for a bit of a switchback, but it is Seb Leclerc that does have. And we may be going 3 wide with Stinos also in behind, crawling through that turn 3 quite clean. Pavonis making his way past Dark Stomper, sorry. Now it is Zaf and King David going past Seb Leclerc. What a battle this is between these top 4 drivers. This is quite impressive. Zaf has made his way up into first. Stinos has actually made his way up into second. He was in 4th going up the hill towards turn 3. So well done by the Alpine driver of Stinos. Ooh, and a bit of a bad exit coming through that turn for King David. That gives Seb Leclerc the invitation to take that 4th place position. Or sorry, the 3rd place position for Seb Leclerc. It is DRS now for King David. Seb Leclerc does not have DRS and is low on the battery. King David is back up into 3rd, and Amaguner will soon get himself involved in this battle between these top 5 drivers. It is DRS for Seb Leclerc. It is going to be a battle going through. Nope. King David does yield slightly, as Pavonis has made his way past Dark Stomper to go back up into 6th. So it does look like Dark Stomper and Pavonis are just trading places as it stands. So we're currently on lap 13 of 36. As we have yellow flag, that looks like Apex Finley has made a mistake and is dropping down the field all the way down in 12th, and tires have probably overheated. Pavonis is into the pits to ditch those medium tires. Dark Stomper now taking that 6th place position, but it'll be interesting to see if Pavonis will be able to do a bit of an undercut on Dark Stomper. We will see in the coming laps. So it is DRS, as Apex Finley is still having issues going through Sector 3. Now riding on board with Koix did disconnect from this session for quite a bit of time, but he is back in that Williams car and is currently in 10th place, so doing a pretty good job for the circumstances. And ahead of him is Zayek, currently in the points. So good job so far by the Mercedes driver. So now riding on board with Stinos does have DRS. I'm wondering, did Seb Leclerc? Nope. Seb Leclerc did not get DRS from Stinos. King David has actually dropped back from Seb Leclerc quite a bit, and that is going to leave him vulnerable to the Williams driver of Amaguner relatively shortly. And also Amaguner is on the hard tires. So that might be the case as well, as the crossover point between these two tires may be here or has passed. Yep, so King David is into the pits. That promotes Amagooner up into fourth. So Seb LaFleur has gotten himself back in DRS range of Skinos. As we have yellow flags in Sector 1, that is Zayek. So I'll just go through the current order as it is on lap 16 of this race. Actually, maybe I will forego that for the time being, as Stinos, I believe, has gone into the back of Zap. So Zap is into the pits. I'm not sure. I don't believe he would have sustained any damage from that contact. Nope, it is just a tire change for Zap. That is unfortunate for him, though. Ooh, that's a bit of an oversteer moment for Seb LaFleur. So it may be soon that Seb LaFleur has to get rid of those medium tires on his car. We'll actually go on board with Pavonis as Zap is just coming out of the pits. So his tires will be slightly cold, and Pavonis has made his way past Zap to go up into 9th and his DRS for the Alfa Romeo driver. So that will make sure or ensure that he stays in that 9th place. We have yellow flags in sector 2 and 3. That is Anthony. So the McLaren driver of Anthony has made an error and will be dropping down the field. I must say, Seb LaFleur with these medium tires, he is doing a good job. As looks like Lewis has made an error himself. So that will see Anthony maybe going past Lewis. Actually, Anthony is into the pits, so may have sustained some damage upon that spin. Now riding on board with King David, making his way past Corks to go up into 6th place. So what I was saying is that it is quite impressive what it is that Seb LaFleur as Zap. Bit of contact between Zap and Pavonis. Side by side between both drivers as well, as we have yellow flags. Looks like Lewis has made an error. Ooh, as a bit of contact, and Pavonis unfortunately is around. So there was a bit of contact that was made between Zap and Pavonis as Seb LaFleur is into the pits to ditch his medium tires. There was a bit of contact that was made between Pavonis and Zap. I believe Pavonis went onto the curb as Apex Finley making his way past Anthony to go up into 12th place. Seb LaFleur just coming out of the pits on relatively cold tires, has to be careful going into that turn 3. As with those cold tires, almost made contact with King David. As you can see, Seb LaFleur doing a bit of weaving to try and get some heat into his tires. So we are currently on lap 19 of 36, 17 and a half laps remaining. Make it 17 as Amaguner is into the pits, and Stinos is currently on lap 20. Anthony will have to stay slotted behind Apex for the time being. Now riding on board with Seb LaFleur. This might be quite interesting. Will King David, yep, fresher tires than H. Bosworth, as H. Bosworth has not pit yet. So King David making his way past H. Bosworth to go up into third. It'll be interesting to see when H. Bosworth will be getting rid of those hard tires. So Stinos, the race leader, is into the pits. He got himself a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So Anthony making his way past Apex to go up into 12th place. Daredevil flags in Sector 3, I believe that is Zayek. So Seb LaFleur has made his way past H. Bosworth to go up into 4th. And Zayek is into the pits, so this will be interesting. Yep, Lewis will make his way past Zayek as Zayek is in the pits. But will Zayek be able to hold on to that 11th place position as Anthony sets the fastest lap of the race with a 107.349? Nope. Zayek comes out just beside his teammate Apex in 13th. Actually, we'll go up to Seb LaFleur right behind King David. And this looks like it's a better exit for Seb LaFleur, deploying the battery slightly with the DRS, will make his way up into 3rd place. Zap sets the fastest lap of the race with a 107.338. Stinos now making his way past Dark Stomper, who has not hit as yet. King David making his way back past Seb LaFleur to go up into 3rd. So I'm wondering if some of these runners who are on 21 lap old tires, are they potentially waiting for a safety car or a virtual safety car? So I believe Seb LaFleur did make his way past King David to go back up into 3rd. It's going to be a question of, does Dark Stomper want to pit? He does not. A bit of an Alpine sandwich at the moment as H. Bosworth had actually let Hoyt through, so maybe he wants the DRS and cuts that corner. Will probably be a track limit warning for H. Bosworth, but H. Bosworth, it is always impressive as, looks like a bit of a battle between Amaguner and King David, as well as both Aston Martin drivers. We have yellow flag sector 3, that is Zayek, unfortunately. Zayek gets himself a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and he has also retired as Dark Stomper has decided to pit. As Stinos sets the fastest lap of the race with a 107.173. It is DRS for Emma Gunnar, and a bit braver on the brakes, does avoid contact with King David. Is DRS again for Emma Gunnar. King David ahead of him is low on the battery. However, it does not look like Emma Gunnar has enough speed. We will see as he'll get another dose of the DRS. Will he be able to make his way past King David? I do not believe so, as we have yellow flag sector 3. That is Lewis F1. So Coix gets himself a 3-second time penalty for multiple track limit warnings. I will actually stay on board. Stinos gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple track limit warnings. Zap making his way past H. Bosworth. We have yellow flag sector 3! As Emma Gunnar was facing the wrong way and has taken Zap out of this race, and it is a safety car. And that is unfortunate for Zayek, who actually just pit. If he stayed out, could have had the opportunity to score points still in this race. So this is going to heavily benefit H. Bosworth, who has not pit as yet. Unfortunate that Dark Stomper didn't actually stay up for a little bit longer for this safety car. Ooh, as H. Bosworth is actually missing his entire front wing. So that collision between Emma Gunnar, or that caused Emma Gunnar to spin, I'm assuming it had something to do with H. Bosworth. So Spinos, King David, and H. Bosworth are into the pits. I am assuming that no Dark Stomper pit. Yeah, it's only been a lap, so it wouldn't make sense to stay out on those tires. I'm assuming Coix will be pitting, yes. So Coix of the Williams team is into the pits. My assumption will be that Pavonis will be staying out. I am assuming that Anthony will be pitting, and actually all of these 10 drivers, as long as they make it far enough into this race to be classified, will be scoring points. So this is quite good, but it is unfortunate that the Drivers' Championship leader out of this race after colliding with Emma Gunnar just before the final turn of the circuit, as Emma Gunnar was facing the wrong direction on the track. Not entirely sure what it is that happened with him to be in that position. So riding on board with Seb Leclerc, is he going to pit? Yes. So the reserve Aston Martin driver is into the pits. This will probably drop him to, I'm assuming, 5th place. I'm going to take a guess and say I do not think Pavonis will be able to make his way past. So fresh set of softs for Seb Leclerc, and comes back out in 5th place. So just looking at the position changes so far for this race. So Spinos, who started this race in 3rd, is currently in 1st place. King David starting in 4th, currently in 2nd. Dark Stomper started in 14th and is currently in 3rd. A drive by the Aston Martin driver. H. Bosworth also, who decided to stay out very long on his set of hard tires, currently in 4th, has made up 8 positions. Well done by him. Seb Leclerc, just coming out of the pits, has dropped 3 positions from the start of this race, is currently in 5th. Pavonis has made up 3 positions from the start, going from 9th, currently in 6th. Koix has dropped 1 position from the start of this race, as he also disconnected for quite a bit of the beginning of this race. So a pretty good drive for him with the circumstances. Apex Finley currently in 8th, does not have any time penalties. That is very key. That may see him, as it is right now, it would actually see him in net P6, as he's into the pits as well for, let's see, slightly old tires, so he has decided to sacrifice positions for fresher tires. And with Stinos having a 6-second penalty, no, now that he's dropped all the way back here, so it would probably be net, still net P6 for Apex, yes. So we are currently on lap 28 of 36. We have 8.5 laps remaining in this race. And the sky is looking like it is getting slightly darker. So it'll be interesting to see if there will be any rain coming as the safety car is in this lap. Making his way past H. Bosworth, we have yellow flag section 3. So we are riding on board with Stinos. He will be the one to get these drivers back underway. Yep, and it looks like it is pedaled down for Stinos, and he is away. Seb Leclerc quite close to H. Bosworth, maybe even be able to make a move on the Alpine driver. This is going to be quite close going through this turn 1. Better exit for Pavonis, able to make his way up into 5th place. Well done by the Alfa Romeo driver, now on board with Koix. A bit of a lunge, has to be careful, does not lunge too far, does stay in 7th though. Well done by him to not make any contact with any of the drivers. Deploying the battery again is Koix. Will he try and make this move going into this turn? Nope, will stay slotted in 7th. So quite a good restart by Pavonis, making his way past H. Bosworth, as well as a good restart by Seb Leclerc, making his way, he also made his way past H. Bosworth as well. So H. Bosworth dropping 2 positions after that safety car restart. Stinos has set the fastest lap of the race with a 106.282. I get a bit jumpy when I see people going near the back of drivers. Now Koix making his way past H. Bosworth to go up into 5th place. Running on board with Seb Leclerc. Staying behind Dark Stomper as it is right now. Lewis and Apex battling for that 8th place position. Both drivers deploying the battery, but it looks like Lewis has a bit more top speed in that Ferrari car. They are going side by side through this turn, and Apex, I believe, was in 8th, so able to hold on to that 8th place position. Ooh, as Lewis, I'm not sure what happened there. Track limit warning penalties for H. Bosworth and Pavonis, but Lewis has spun. So DRS is enabled this lap. Stinos has to try and run away, as he has a 6-second penalty to his name. He has to try and run away, hope that these drivers, Seb LaFleur making his way past Dark Stomper to go up into third, Apex making his way past H. Bosworth to go up into seventh. So, actually, we'll go on board with Coix as Pavanis is quite low on the battery, but Coix not able to make a move going through this turn. Apex Finley behind Coix, looking like he is quite in the mood to make a move and has to be careful not to make contact. Sometimes watching these drivers, it's clench worthy. It gets close. As Apex still right behind Coix. And Apex actually does have quite a bit of battery at his disposal as well. Now riding on board with Seb LaFleur. DRS wide open for the Aston Martin driver as we have yellow flags. Apex has spun. So Seb LaFleur making his way past King David to go up into second. Pavanis and Coix are battling at the moment. Coix making his way, I believe, making his way up into fifth place. King David and Seb LaFleur side by side momentarily. Seb LaFleur able to stay in second place. So now riding on board with Anthony, who is right behind Pavonis. As is Pavonis pitting? Yes, Pavonis is into the pit, so he may have sustained damage. I'll actually see what it is that the Alfa Romeo driver is doing, unless he is deciding to go for the fastest lap. We have yellow flag sector 3. That is Lewis. So even with a tire or a pit stop and tire change for Pavonis, he still, I know Lewis is coming up to the back of him, so it'll be interesting. It is pressure tires for Pavonis. We'll be trying to go for the fastest lap as well. That spin will potentially maybe not cost Lewis a point, but Pavonis will try and get himself 2 points from this race. As we have yellow flag sector 3. Who is that? That's Stinos. So Stinos has made a costly error after leading this race and had quite the lead on Seb LaFleur and has spun again. So has to be careful coming back onto the track. This is going to be costly for him. He's going to have to pit for a new front wing as he does not have one at the moment. So this is going to be 3 positions for Lewis and Pavanis. Now riding on board with Anthony. Stinos is into the pits. It's DRS wide open for Anthony. Will not be able to make his way up to Coix. A good exit by Pavonis, making his way past Lewis to go up into 8th place. But it will be DRS for the Ferrari driver of Lewis. But Pavonis, with the fresher tires, will be able to maintain that 8th place position. As it is right now, it is as Dark Stomper gets himself a 3-second time penalty, as well as Coix. So this is actually going to play into Anthony's favor. He can actually be somewhat conservative, as he knows with Coix ahead of him having that penalty, he can finish in 4th. Dark Stomper may be a bit too far ahead with only a lap and a half remaining, but it does look like Anthony is going for this move on Coix. And yep, Anthony makes his way up into 4th place. DRS No, it's not. It's actually... What's it DRS for Anthony, actually? So I didn't see Coyce having DRS unless he didn't turn it on. So we are just about to commence the final lap of this race. It is Seb Leclerc in the lead, looking like he's going to take another victory. Currently leading the reserve driver standings, and it will actually mean that he will have the most points out of all drivers, including the drivers who are with a team, being that Zap has not finished from this race as he was the Drivers' Championship leader. So this is quite the drive by Seb Leclerc, also making up one position from the beginning of this race. So a good drive by Seb Leclerc. So we'll go on board with Seb Leclerc going through the final two turns of this circuit. It is going to be a victory for the Aston Martin reserve of Seb Leclerc. King David finishing in second. Dark Stomper, first race of the season, finishing in third. Anthony coming home in fourth. Coyce coming home in fifth. H. Bosworth will be finishing in sixth, maybe taken off of him by Apex. No, it is not. Apex finishing in seventh. Pavonis will be finishing this race in eighth, no, maybe ninth place, as he does have some penalties. Oh, Lewis! Lewis has cost himself eighth place. That is unfortunate for Lewis. And last across the line is Sinos. It'll be interesting to see if he will get the fastest lap of the race, but there you have it. Yep, Sinos did get the fastest lap, gets himself an extra point. Seb Leclerc, reserving for the Aston Martin team, gets the victory around Austria today. Dark Stomper named the driver of the day for today's race, and it is quite deserving as he started 14th, second last on the grid, and has come home to finish in third place. So we'll go through the finishing order for this race. It is Seb Leclerc finishing in first. King David finishing in second. Dark Stomper finishing in third. Anthony finishing in fourth. I'm pretty sure he did have a spin, I think. So pretty good drive by Anthony. Coyce finishing in fifth. Anthony was fourth, Coyce fifth. H. Bosworth finishing in sixth. Going long on those hards to that safety car was quite beneficial for H. Bosworth. Apex Finley finishing in seventh. Pretty good finish after having some spins throughout this race. Pavonis finishing in eighth for first points for the Alfa Romeo driver. Well done by him. Lewis F1 finishing in ninth, and Stinos finishing in 10th, also setting the fastest lap of the race. And your DNFs for this race, it is Zap, Amaguner, Zayek, Priorthib, and Shug's Life. So I would like to thank everyone for tuning into this broadcast of Delta Revolution Racing. Make sure that you like this video slash stream, and also make sure that you subscribe to this channel. Doing both of these things will help us out quite a bit. For next week, the race will be taking place around Belgium, and then after next week, it will be the week break for these drivers. So next week is the halfway point of the season. So make sure that you tune in next week at 7:30 UK time on Monday. These same drivers will be here for the F1 Monday tier, racing around the Belgium circuit. For myself, Kem, I would like to thank you for tuning into this broadcast. Make sure that you like this video, and if you haven't subscribed to this channel as yet, make sure you do that as well. Thank you for tuning in, and I would like to say, take care.